Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most iconic and widely collected coins in American history, the 1941 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. If you are a coin collector or just stumbled upon an old penny in your drawer, you might be wondering, is this coin valuable? Could this small piece of copper be worth a lot of money? Let's find out. The 1941 wheat penny was minted in Denver, hence the D mint mark, and it is part of the famous Lincoln wheat cent series, which was minted from 1909 to 1958. The design features the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse or head side of the coin. This image was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it marked the first time a real historical figure was featured on a regular issue American coin. On the reverse side of the coin, we see the classic wheat ears design framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This reverse design symbolizes agricultural prosperity and was a staple of U.S. coinage during the early 20th century. Now let's talk about the historical context. The year 1941 was right on the brink of America entering World War II. And even though the country was not yet directly involved, the world was in turmoil. Despite that, the U.S. Mint continued production of coins as usual, and more than 128 million of the 1941 wheat pennies were struck at the Denver Mint, making it a fairly common coin in circulated condition. But here's where it gets interesting. While the 1941 penny is not considered rare in the strictest sense, some specimens, especially those in uncirculated or mint state condition, can fetch a high price. The coin was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs about 31 grams and measures 19 millimeters in diameter. Now let's talk about value. In well-circulated condition, this coin might only be worth a few cents above face value, maybe up to 25 cents, but if you have a coin in very fine condition or better, the price begins to rise. In extra fine condition, it could be worth $1 to $2. In about uncirculated condition, maybe $2 to $5. The real money lies in coins that are graded mint state or higher. If a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is graded MS63 red by a professional grading service, it could be worth $20 to $30. Go a step higher, and an MS65 red specimen might fetch $50 to $100. But wait, there's more. In rare cases, high-grade examples in MS66 red or MS67 red with perfect luster and flawless surfaces can sell for several $100s or even over $1,000 at auction. There was one recorded sale of a 1941 penny graded MS67 red that sold for over $2,000 due to its exceptional condition and eye appeal. So what factors influence the value of your 1941 wheat penny? First, the grade or condition of the coin. Coins that have been well preserved and show minimal wear are always worth more. Second, the color of the coin is important in coin collecting. Red, brown, and red are terms used to describe copper coins. Red is the most valuable, as it means the coin still retains most of its original mint luster. Third, rarity of errors can boost value. Sometimes coins are struck with small mistakes such as double dies, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes. For example, a 1941 penny with a repunched mint mark can command a premium among collectors. And now let's bring it to today's market. What is the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny worth in 2025? In general, most circulated examples are still in the 25 cents to $1 range. Uncirculated coins graded MS63 red are still going for around $20 to $30 on online marketplaces and coin auctions. High-end examples MS66 and above, especially with certification from PCGS or NGC, can still demand several $100s and continue to be strong performers in the collector market. It's also important to remember that the demand for Lincoln wheat pennies remains high due to the number of new collectors entering the hobby. People love collecting Lincoln cents because of their history, affordability, and the challenge of finding all the dates and mint marks. If you think you have a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny in your possession, it might be worth taking a closer look. You can inspect it for condition and luster, and if you think it might be in high grade, consider submitting it to a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC to get a certified grade. This can significantly increase its market value and trust among buyers. To sum it up, while the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is not ultra-rare, it can still be quite valuable under the right circumstances. Coins in exceptional condition or those with rare minting errors can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars in the right market. And even if your coin isn't worth a fortune, it's still a piece of American history over 80 years old that connects us to the legacy of President Abraham Lincoln and the era leading up to World War II. We are diving deep into one of the most underrated yet fascinating coins in American history, the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny, also known to many as the Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin. This humble little coin may look ordinary at first glance, but its story is packed with American legacy, minting, evolution, collector value, and in some cases surprising worth in the modern market. So whether you found one in your pocket, inherited it from a relative, or are just curious if this penny could be worth more than 1 cent. Stay tuned because we are about to explore everything you need to know about the 1949 Lincoln wheat penny. Let's begin with the history. First introduced in 1909, the Lincoln cent was released to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It became the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure on its obverse, replacing the Indian head cent. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and his initials VDB are found on the reverse of some early 1909 versions but were removed for a short time due to public criticism, then returned in later versions subtly below Lincoln's shoulder. Fast forward to 1949. America had just come out of World War II, and the economy was shifting. The Lincoln wheat penny design remained strong as the dominant 1 cent coin used in circulation. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln facing right, while the reverse displays 2 stalks of wheat with the words 1 cent and United States of America in the center, along with the motto E pluribus unum above. In 1949, these pennies were minted in 3 primary locations: Philadelphia, which has no mint mark, Denver marked with a D, and San Francisco marked with an S. Here is how many were made in each location: approximately 217 million in Philadelphia, 153 million in Denver, and around 64 million in San Francisco. While these mint numbers are not the rarest, they still provide insight into how common or scarce certain versions may be today. Now let's talk about the coin's value. The base value of a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny in circulated condition is usually between 3 to 10 cents. Yes, that is not much over face value, but the story does not end there, because when you get into higher grades, especially uncirculated mint state examples and even proof-like pieces, that's where things get exciting. A 1949 Lincoln cent in uncirculated condition with a nice red copper tone graded MS-65 by the Professional Coin Grading Service can fetch between $15 to $50 depending on the mint mark. Coins from the San Francisco Mint tend to command a slight premium, especially in higher grades due to their lower mintage. Now listen to this: if you happen to own a 1949 penny in gem mint state condition with a vibrant red color free from marks and full of original luster, that coin could be worth hundreds of dollars. In fact, auction records have shown MS-67 RD examples selling for over $1,000 in recent years. This is particularly true for coins certified by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Errors also play a role in value. Some 1949 wheat pennies have been found with repunched mint marks known as RPMs, where the letter D or S appears to have been stamped more than once. If you find one of these RPM varieties, it could be worth $50 to several $100s based on the strength and clarity of the error. Other known errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks. Each of these errors can increase the coin's value significantly depending on how dramatic and rare the error is. Always get these types of coins evaluated by a professional numismatist or a grading company to get an accurate value. In the current coin collecting market as of this year, interest in vintage Lincoln cents remains strong. Collectors look for full red coins with minimal wear, and those rare error examples mentioned earlier. Online auctions, marketplaces, and coin shows are where many of these valuable pennies are being bought and sold. If you are looking to sell one, be sure to do your research, get it graded if possible, and never rush to part with it without understanding its potential worth. To summarize, while a regular 1949 Lincoln wheat penny in average condition might only be worth a few cents, the true treasures lie in the high-grade mint state examples and rare error varieties. These can be worth $50, $100, or even $1,000 depending on condition and rarity. So check your change, search through old jars, and see if you might have one of these tiny pieces of American history hiding in plain sight. And if you do, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story. We are diving into the fascinating story of a common coin with uncommon value. The 1964 D Lincoln 1 cent penny might seem like just another old coin, but under the right conditions, it could be worth way more than just 1 cent. So how can a copper penny from the 1960s become a mini fortune? Stick with me as we uncover the history, minting details, errors, and the surprising current market value of the 1964 D Lincoln penny. Let's start with the basics. The 1964 D penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth. The coin was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it quickly became a favorite among the public. By 1964, the reverse design still featured the wheat ears, and Lincoln's bust on the obverse had gone unchanged. Since its release, the mint mark D under the date indicates that this particular coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Now let's talk mintage. In 1964, the Denver Mint produced a staggering number of pennies, over 3.8 billion, with a B. 1964 D Lincoln cents were struck, making it one of the highest mintage coins of that era. Because of this high mintage, many people assume these coins have no value beyond face, but that's not always the case. Let's break down what makes a 1964 D penny valuable. First is the condition. While most of these coins are well circulated, some have survived in brilliant Uncirculated condition: if your 1964 D penny shows no signs of wear, strong red color, and crisp details, it may be worth more. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, and a penny graded MS 65 or higher is considered gem. Uncirculated: these can sell for anywhere from $5 to $50 depending on the demand and color. MS 67 examples with red luster can fetch over $150 at auction. Next is the metal composition. 1964 was one of the last years before the U.S. Mint considered switching to cheaper metal compositions due to rising costs of copper. Each 1964 D penny is 95% copper and 5% zinc. That means each one has a little over 2.9 grams of solid copper. This gives them some melt value, but it's still illegal to melt U.S. pennies for their metal content, so numismatic value is more important here. Now let's look at the real money makers, the rare errors and varieties. This is where it gets really exciting. Some 1964 D pennies were struck with doubling on the obverse. This is known as a double die obverse, and it's one of the most sought-after errors. Look closely at the date "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If the letters look thick or show shadows, you might have a double die example. These can be worth anywhere from $100 to several $100s depending on clarity and grade. Another thing to look for is a repunched mint mark, known as RPM. The D mint mark was manually punched into each die back then, so variations happened. If the mint mark appears doubled or shadowed, it could be an RPM, and these varieties can be worth from $10 to $100 or more depending on condition. There are also known die cracks, die chips, and off-center strikes from 1964 D pennies. All of these errors can bring extra value, with dramatic off-center strikes worth $50 to over $200, especially if Lincoln's profile is still visible. Now for the current market value for circulated 1964 D pennies: most are worth only face value, maybe 2 to 3 cents for copper content. However, if you find one in uncirculated red condition, values jump sharply. MS 63 red examples can bring $5 to $10. MS 65 red brings $25 to $50. MS 67 red might hit $150 to $300, and if you have a double die or rare RPM variety, those values stack up quickly. Rare certified errors sold at auction have topped $1,000 for truly unique examples. Before you get too excited, here's the key takeaway. The average 1964 D penny is common, but condition and errors make all the difference. Check every coin carefully. Use a magnifier. Look for strong luster, sharp details, and minting anomalies. You never know what treasure is hiding in your pocket change. Also, remember to check both sides of the coin. Pay attention to edges and field. Subtle differences can make a huge impact on value. If you have a bunch of 1964 D pennies, you might want to sort them out. Look for signs of high quality and potential errors. Send the best ones to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC if you believe they might be worth certifying. And that wraps up our deep dive into the 1964 D Lincoln penny, a common coin with uncommon value, potentially a fortune hiding in plain sight. We're diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting and discussing a particular piece that often raises a lot of questions among collectors and enthusiasts alike, and that is the 1975 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny. This coin might look ordinary to most people, but when we dig into its history, design, production quirks, and collector demand, you'll see why it can be worth much more than just 1 cent. So stick with me as we explore how this small copper coin could be hiding real treasure in your change jar. First, let's begin with the historical background of the Lincoln penny. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This marked the first time a real historical figure was used on a circulating American coin. Prior to this, coins featured symbolic representations like liberty, but never actual presidents. The 1909 Lincoln cent featured the now iconic side profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, and that design has remained a part of the coin for over a century, with only a few changes over the decades. Most notably, the reverse design has changed from the original wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959 to a shield design in 2010. Now let's zoom in on the year 1975 and see why pennies from this year hold any special interest. The first thing to know is that millions and millions of these coins were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver mints, with no mint mark and with a small d mark respectively. Since they were common at the time, you may be thinking there's nothing rare or special about them, but as any experienced collector will tell you, the devil is in the details, and some of these details can drive the value way up. In 1975, the U.S. Mint produced over 5 billion Lincoln cents in Philadelphia and over 4.5 billion in Denver. That's a massive number, which is why circulated versions are usually only worth their face value or slightly more. However, what sets certain 1975 pennies apart are the condition, rarity of mint errors, and how well the coin has been preserved. For example, uncirculated versions, especially those graded mint state 65 or higher by coin grading agencies like PCGS or NGC, can fetch significantly higher prices. And if you're lucky enough to find a proof coin or one with an error, you might be sitting on a tiny copper goldmine. Let's talk about those errors because they're one of the main reasons some 1975 Lincoln pennies can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Mint errors are mistakes that occur during the minting process and include things like double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or wrong metal planchets. In fact, some 1975 pennies were accidentally struck on dime planchets, or even foreign coin blanks, leading to dramatic differences in weight, color, and appearance that make them highly sought after by collectors. One such example sold at auction for over $1,200 simply because it was struck on the wrong metal. Another error to look out for is the double die, where the image on the coin, especially Lincoln's profile or the lettering, appears to have been stamped twice, slightly off alignment. This gives the appearance of shadowing or doubling, and these coins are rare and desirable, especially in higher conditions. Collectors and dealers will pay a premium for these because of their unusual nature and historical value. Now let's discuss the material of the 1975 Lincoln penny. In this year, the coin was still made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, which gives it a slightly heavier feel compared to later pennies, which were changed to mostly zinc starting in 1982 because of rising copper costs. Today, the copper content in a pre-1982 penny actually makes its melt value higher than 1 cent, though melting coins for scrap is illegal in the United States. Still, the intrinsic metal value adds to the appeal of older pennies like those from 1975 when it comes to value. Here's what you should keep in mind. A typical circulated 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark or AD mint mark is generally worth 1 cent. However, if the coin is in exceptional condition, uncirculated, or certified as mint state by a grading agency, it can be worth from $5 to $50, and even more. Proof coins, especially those from special mint sets, can go even higher, sometimes crossing $100 for pristine examples. Error coins, depending on the type of error, can fetch prices from $50 all the way up to several $1,000s, especially if authenticated by experts and auctioned at a major coin auction house. One of the most well-known sales of a 1975 penny was a double die error that sold for over $1,500 because of its rare doubling on both the date and the Liberty inscription. It's these small details that make all the difference between a common penny and a coin collector's dream. So the next time you're sorting through your pocket change or old coin jars, take a moment to inspect your pennies from the 70s, especially 1975, and look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, or any unusual features that could mean you're holding a rare piece. If you want to know whether your 1975 penny is valuable, start by checking the condition. If there are no major scratches, dents, or signs of wear, and it has a nice glossy luster, you might want to have it appraised. Next, look at the date, mint mark, and the lettering under magnification to see if there's any doubling or irregularity. Then weigh the coin. It should weigh about 3.11 grams if it's copper. If it's significantly lighter, it might be struck on the wrong planchet, which can be a huge value boost. Finally, consult with a coin grading service or local dealer for confirmation if you think you have something rare on your hands. In conclusion, while most 1975 Lincoln pennies are worth only face value or slightly more, a select few with the right error type, exceptional condition, or unique features can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Knowing what to look for and being attentive to the smallest details can turn a regular coin hunt into an exciting and potentially profitable adventure. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and who knows, you might discover a small piece of American history that's worth a whole lot more than 1 cent. We dive into the stories behind coins you see every day, and sometimes the ones hiding real treasure. Today we are talking about the famous 1982 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin. Yes, the humble penny, and how some versions of it could be worth thousands of dollars today. So stay tuned, because by the end of this video you might want to check your pocket change. Now let us go back a bit in time. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909, originally introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. The obverse or front shows the profile of Lincoln, while the reverse originally had 2 wheat ears, thus earning it the nickname Wheat Penny. But by 1959, the wheat design was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial to mark 150 years since Lincoln's birth. That design stayed until 2008. In 1982, however, something big changed. This was the year that the U.S. Mint changed the composition of the penny due to rising copper prices. Until 1982, pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But copper became too expensive, almost making the penny worth more in metal than in face value. So midway through the year, the Mint began striking pennies using a cheaper composition, 97.5% zinc with only a thin copper plating. This makes 1982 a fascinating transition year for collectors. In total, there were 7 different varieties of Lincoln cents minted in 1982. That's right, 7. Here's a breakdown. First, we have the large date copper and large date zinc, then the small date copper and small date zinc, also the same 4 styles but made at the Denver Mint, that is large date copper D, large date zinc D, small date copper D, and small date zinc D. Although only a few of these were officially confirmed, collectors have identified and authenticated all 7 or even 8 variations depending on classification. Now here's where it gets exciting. One variety in particular, the 1982 D small date made from copper, is an absolute rarity. Why? Because officially, the Denver Mint was only supposed to mint the small date version in zinc, not copper. So any 1982 D small date penny that turns out to be copper is an error coin, or rather a mule that was accidentally struck using the wrong planchet. Only a few have ever been found. In fact, in 2017, a verified 1982 D small date copper penny sold at auction for over $18,000. Yes, that is right, over $18,000 for a single 1-cent coin. And that's not even the highest reported price. Some specimens could go for even more if they are in uncirculated or mint state condition. But even the regular 1982 small and large date coins have value, especially in high grades. A 1982 large date copper penny graded MS67 red by PCGS sold for over $1,500. And a zinc version in high mint state can go from a few dollars to a couple hundred depending on the condition. So how can you tell if your 1982 penny is copper or zinc? Great question. You can try the weight test. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams while a zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. All you need is a precise digital scale. You can find one online for less than $10. Place your 1982 penny on the scale, and if it reads around 3.1 grams, you likely have a copper coin. If it reads closer to 2.5 grams, it's zinc. Remember, even 1/10 of a gram can make a huge difference when evaluating these coins. You can also examine the date style. Large date and small date differences are subtle but important. The easiest way to tell is by looking at the number 2 in 1982. In the small date version, the inner curve of the 2 is more level with the top of the 8. In the large date version, the 2 curves lower and looks slightly bulkier. You may need a magnifying glass or loupe to spot the difference clearly. Now let us talk briefly about errors and why they matter so much. Error coins are coins that were misprinted or struck incorrectly at the mint. These include double dies, off-center strikes, wrong metal planchets, and more. In the case of the 1982 Lincoln cent, transitional errors, meaning coins struck on the wrong metal, are the most valuable. That's why the 1982 D small date copper penny is so special. Collectors go crazy over these varieties because they are rare, unintentional, and incredibly hard to fake if properly authenticated. If you think you might have one, get it graded by a trusted third-party service like PCGS or NGC. Grading not only confirms authenticity but also boosts the coin's value significantly. Now let us fast forward to the current market. As of 2025, 1982 Lincoln cents continue to be a hot topic among collectors. Copper prices are still relatively high, and the fascination with transitional error coins has only grown. A full set of all 7 known 1982 varieties in mint state can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on quality. And again, if you're lucky enough to find one of the ultra-rare transitional errors, like the 1982 D small date copper, you could be holding on to a coin worth tens of thousands. To recap, here's what to look for in your 1982 pennies. Check the weight. 3.1 grams is copper. 2.5 grams is zinc. Examine the date style. Small date versus large date. Look for AD mint mark. Especially on small date copper coins, consider professional grading for rare or pristine examples, and always double-check with experts or collector forums before making any big decisions. That wraps up our deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1982 Lincoln penny. Who would have thought that something so small and so common could hide such value in history? So go ahead, check your change jar, dig through those drawers, and who knows? Maybe your next penny could be a hidden gem worth a fortune. We are diving deep into a coin that might be sitting in your pocket change right now but could actually be worth a small fortune. That is the 2005 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that seems ordinary could end up being worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And today we are going to explore the history, the key facts, and what makes some of these pennies extremely valuable in the current collector market. So grab your magnifying glass or just your curiosity and let us journey into the fascinating world of the 2005 Lincoln penny, starting with the history of this iconic coin. We need to rewind all the way back to 1909. When the Lincoln cent was first introduced, it was created to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, and it was the very first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person on its face. The original design had Lincoln on the front and two wheat stalks on the reverse, but by 1959, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the reverse was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial. Fast forward to 2005, and we still see that Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse side of the penny paired with the familiar profile of Lincoln on the obverse or front side. But not all 2005 pennies are created equal. While billions of these coins were minted across 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, there are some extremely rare and valuable variations that coin collectors are hunting for to this day. Let us start with the basic mintage numbers. In 2005, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 3.7 billion pennies, the Denver Mint struck over 3.9 billion, and the San Francisco Mint created over 3.3 million proof pennies, which are coins made specifically for collectors with a shiny mirror-like finish. These high mintages mean that most 2005 pennies are very common and worth face value, and here's the exciting part, certain errors and varieties make specific coins from this year extremely valuable. One of the most talked about 2005 penny errors is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once by the die, and as a result certain details like the date, the word liberty, or the phrase "in God we trust" appear doubled. This doubling can be obvious or subtle, but it dramatically increases the value of the coin. In fact, a strong double die Lincoln cent from 2005 can sell for anywhere from $50 to over $500 depending on its condition and how prominent the doubling is. Another variety to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not aligned correctly during the minting process, resulting in part of the design missing or shifted to one side. If your 2005 penny has an off-center strike, especially one that is 50% or more off-center and still shows the date, you could be looking at a coin worth $100 or more. Now let us talk about condition, because condition matters a lot in the world of coin collecting. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin with no mark, scratches, or where a 2005 Lincoln penny in mint state condition, especially those graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can fetch significant premiums. Even regular strike coins with no errors, if found in top grade, can sell for $20, $50, or even higher. Proof coins from San Francisco are another area of interest. These coins were never intended for circulation and were sold directly to collectors. They have a mirror-like finish and are made using special dies. A 2005 proof penny in perfect PR70 condition might be worth $10 to $30, but special varieties or errors in proof coins can be worth even more. Another fascinating aspect is the material used in these pennies. Prior to 1982, pennies were mostly made of copper, but after that year, including in 2005, they were made of zinc with a thin copper coating. That means the intrinsic metal value is very low. But again, the collector value can be much higher, especially for error coins or those in pristine condition. So what is the current market value of the 2005 Abraham Lincoln 1-center penny American Samoa? Of now, in average circulated condition, it is worth just 1 cent, but in uncirculated condition, or if it has rare errors or is a proof coin, its value can range from $5 all the way to over $1,000. For exceptional examples, auction sales show us that double die errors in top grades have reached over $500, and rare off-center or mistruck coins have sold for even more. Before you throw away your spare change, make sure to take a closer look at those 2005 pennies. You might have a hidden gem in your collection. And here's a tip: if you are serious about finding rare coins, invest in a good magnifying glass or coin loupe and study the fine details of each coin. Also consider submitting your coin to a professional grading service if you believe it could be rare or valuable. To wrap it up, the 2005 Lincoln 1-cent penny may seem like just another coin, but it holds a rich history, fascinating variations, and the potential for serious value. Always pay attention to mint marks, look out for doubling errors, off-center strikes, and other unusual characteristics. These little details can turn a simple penny into a big payday. We're diving deep into one of the most common yet fascinating coins in your pocket, the 2018 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now I know what you're thinking. It's just a penny. But hold up. This coin might be worth more than you ever imagined if you know what to look for. We're talking about errors, varieties, mint marks, and what collectors are paying today in 2025 for this small copper beauty. So stick around, because this little cent could make you a lot of dollars. Let's start with a bit of background. The Lincoln cent has been around since 1909 and has had several changes in design and composition over the years. The 2018 penny still features the classic side portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. That design has been in use for over a century and it's still going strong. On the obverse or front side, we see Lincoln facing right with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, Liberty on the left, and the year 2018 to the right. Now, what's different in modern pennies is the metal composition. Since 1982, pennies have been mostly zinc with only a thin copper plating. That means the 2018 penny weighs only 2.5 grams compared to the older copper coins, which weighed 3.11 grams. Now let's talk about the reverse. On the back side, you'll see the Union Shield, which has been the reverse design since 2010. The shield symbolizes Lincoln's preservation of the United States during the Civil War. There are 13 vertical stripes representing the original 13 states, joined by a horizontal bar representing the federal government. On top of that shield, you'll see the words "E pluribus unum," and underneath it the large letters 1 cent with the United States of America curved along the bottom. Now here's where it gets exciting. You might think a 2018 penny is too recent to be valuable, but some of these are worth far more than face value. Why? Because of mint errors and varieties. Let's break it down by mint location. There are 3 main mint marks for 2018 Lincoln cents. No mint mark for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. Philadelphia struck over 4 billion pennies in 2018. Denver produced nearly 5 billion. San Francisco made the least, but only in proof coins for collectors. So how does a 2018 penny become worth real money? Error coins. These are coins that come out of the mint with mistakes, but instead of being tossed out, they make their way into circulation. And collectors love them. Some of the top error types for the 2018 penny include double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, missing letters, and more. Let's talk about the 2018 D double die obverse. Some collectors have found 2018 Denver pennies with doubling on Lincoln's ear or his eyes, or even the date. If you spot one of these under a microscope or with a jeweler's loupe, you could be holding a coin worth between $20 to $100 or more, depending on condition. Another error is the off-center strike. That's when the coin isn't aligned properly in the press and comes out with part of the design missing. A 2018 penny with a 50% off-center error can be worth $75 or more. Next up, the die cracks and cuds. These are breaks or chips in the die that cause raised lines or blobs on the coin surface. They look like veins or big bumps, and the more dramatic the error, the more valuable the coin can be. Some 2018 pennies with large die breaks have sold for $50 to $200. Let's not forget the San Francisco proof coins. These are made specifically for collectors and are not meant for circulation. They have a mirror-like finish and sharp details. If you have a 2018 S penny in pristine condition, it might be worth around $5 to $10. But if it's graded PR70 Deep Cameo, the highest possible grade, it could go for $30 to $50 or more. Speaking of grading, let's cover that quickly. Coin grading is the process of rating a coin's condition from poor all the way up to mint state 70. If your 2018 penny has no scratches and still has that fresh luster, it could grade MS65 or higher. Coins graded MS67 or better are hard to find and worth much more to collectors. A 2018 D penny graded MS67 has sold for over $150 at auction. That's 15,000 times face value for a penny. Now let's talk market value in 2025. A regular circulated 2018 penny with no errors or special grading is worth 1 cent. That's expected. But coins with errors or in top mint state condition have strong demand among collectors. Error coins especially can skyrocket in price depending on rarity and condition. So how do you know if your 2018 penny is valuable? First, check the mint mark. Look closely at the details under magnification. Use good lighting. Look for doubling, especially in the eyes, ears, or lettering. Examine the edges for off-center strikes or thick rims. Compare the weight if you have a digital scale. A normal penny weighs 2.5 grams, but some errors or wrong planchet coins weigh differently, and that's a red flag for rarity. What should you do if you think you have a valuable coin? First, don't clean it. Cleaning can ruin a coin's value. Next, take clear photos and check online forums or auction sites to compare your coin. Then consider getting it graded by a trusted grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it and assign a grade that helps determine its value in the market. To wrap it up, the 2018 Lincoln cent may be common in your change, but uncommon examples can be worth serious money. Whether it's a double die off-center strike or a high-grade mint state coin, these little cents are a reminder to always check your pocket change. You never know what treasure is hiding right under your nose. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more coin collecting tips and market updates. Drop a comment below if you found any error coins recently or want us to cover another year or type of coin next. Until next time, happy hunting and keep your eyes on the cents.